I'm not afraid of people. I'm not afraid of cases. There's no place for cowards in the courtroom. Delivering a judgment is a moment when a judge delivers justice. My mother is my first country, the first place I ever lived. Being a judge does not mean that you need to stop to be a human being. I think that when it comes to legal practice, everything is about integrity. Sometimes you can't deliver justice just by following the words of law. The perfect judgment is one that creates win-win feeling among the parties. Expect that judges are like Googles, that they should bear their case with all the details in their mind. You need to steal knowledge. You need to listen, observe, and absorb. I always do things that I'm afraid of. That's how I conquer my fears.
I am your host Gaurav Garg and we welcome all our viewers to our show Amazing Mentor. Today with us is Ms. Bojana. He is currently Judge Basic Court at General Litigation Department and Managing Director Khiebra LLC. She is a skilled solicitor, lawyer, licensed mediator with 19 years experience in civil, corporate law and banking experience. Commercially aware and well-served in drafting legal documents, contract, document review, negotiation, out of the court settlement, and mediation. It's a pleasure to welcome Ms. Bojana to our show, Amazing Mentor. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Gaurav, for having me here. It's a pleasure to be part of such an original project.
Thank you very much for accepting our invitation. So tell us about your childhood and any particular childhood memory that strikes your mind when we say word childhood.
Well, I'd say that I had a very happy childhood. It was very memorable. I grew up in a complete family with my mother, father, sister, with my grandmother. And actually, my grandmother had a huge impact on my life, especially in terms of education. She wasn't so educated herself. She had only primary school certificate, but she was naturally intelligent, she was witty, and she was very ambitious. And thanks to her ambition, she taught me how to write and read when I was only 3 years old. And also, thanks to her ambition, she took me to my first English language class when I was only 4 years old. I loved it. I still have like that first English book for kids. I still remember songs that we sang back then. And actually, from that moment, I became very passionate about languages, about learning, about working on myself in general. So basically, that is like my favorite childhood memory. Although I can remember that, even during my childhood, there were some signs of my future legal career because I always sought for justice in me and around me. I tried to make things better with the world and in the world. I often confronted my parents, about going out and staying late at night. So definitely, we should cherish our childhood memories because sometimes when we are at the crossroads and we don't know what to do with our life, which direction to choose, we should go back to our childhood memories and let them lead us and let them show the way through life.
So what about your educational background, schooling and higher education?
Well, when it comes to my education and schooling, I need to emphasize that I was born and raised in Serbia. Serbia is a country in Central Europe, and it was a part of a bigger country back then. When I was born, it was a part of Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. And an interesting thing that is that there's actually a link, a connection between you and me, between Serbian and Indian people, because Yugoslavia was, along with India, a founder of non-alignment movement in 1950s. Something. So our countries developed a very strong bond back then, and that bond has been preserved till the present day. And it was actually a very important movement. They fought against the world domination, against aggression. They tried to support development of economy and education systems in the countries that were part of that movement. We are all connected in certain way. It's very interesting. So to get back to my education and schooling, I can say that education in my country was superb. I had an opportunity to attend the best primary school and to get my secondary education completely for free. Same goes for law school. My studies were financed by the government. So it was actually a privilege to attend reputable educational institutions and to get a high quality education as I got. After my primary and secondary school, I started a law school. I studied at a law university in my home country. I can say that I enjoyed my studies. Everything was easy for me. I passed almost all exams with flying colors. What's more important, I had enough time to study, but I had enough time, to have a personal life, to go out, to have fun. That's maybe a piece of advice that I can give to young people, work hard, but don't forget to have fun along the way.
So what was your dream profession as a child?
It's very funny because I changed my career plans, dreams profession when I was a kid so many times. When I was 7, 8 years old, I wanted to work at a newspaper stand. I wanted to sell newspapers. Why? Because I was into comic books, into reading, and my father would buy me 3 comic books every Sunday, and I would read all of them the same day. And I thought, wow, what a great job is to sell newspapers. Because, you can read everything, you can read it for free, and they pay you to do that. So it was a very good career option back then. Later on, when I was at the end of my primary school, I wanted to become a designer. I had a thick notebook full of sketches, not just of clothes, but of various things. And interesting thing happened. I remember that my sister and I got into a fight, and she tore my notebook into pieces. I cried my eyes out. Later on, my parents actually tore my dream into pieces, to become a designer, because they didn't give me their approval to go to a designer school. Well, the reason was very simple. I was only 15 years old. There was no design school in my hometown, and they thought that it's very dangerous, for a young person like me just to go into another city and to live there on my own. So I moved, to other options. I considered an option to be a veterinarian because I loved animals. I still like animals. I'm a cat person. And I can say that my first serious career plan was actually at the end of my high school, when I wanted to become a language teacher, English language teacher. And when I said that to my English language teacher, she gave me an answer that practically shocked me. She told me, well, you should reconsider your career option. Maybe you should enroll in a university that will give you better career options, better career prospects, that will give you an opportunity to get a good paid job, and you can always learn languages in your spare time. And I was very confused, but when I think about that, that happened in the 90s, and I completely understand her answer and her advice, because it was a very hard period for my country. We just got out of the civil war. We had the highest rate of inflation in the world. Many people were unemployed. So she actually asked me just to be practical. And I listened to her advice, and I looked around myself, and I saw that most of my school friends would study law or economics or medicine. When I asked my close friends, what are you going to study? And they said, law school, of course. And then I said, well, law it is then, So the rest is history.
So who inspired you the most to select law as your profession?
Well, I don't know. It was a very random decision. It was a very random decision for me to choose a law career. I didn't have any plans, to study law. I just kept 2 things in my mind. First of all, I thought, well, there are many job opportunities for a lawyer. If you finish a law university, you can work in court. You can work as a judge. You can work as a judge's assistant, judge's advisor. You can work as a public prosecutor. You can work in a bank, in an insurance company. You can be a house lawyer. In Serbia, you can also be a public notary or a public enforcement officer. So, the possibilities are endless, really. And the other thing was, when you study law, of course, you become familiar with all the rules and regulations and laws, and it makes you aware more of your own right, and aware of ways how you can exercise your rights and how can you efficiently protect your rights. So that was basically my inspiration for my legal career.
So what about your hobbies and interests?
Well, I can say that my work is my hobby. When I became a judge, there were so many times that I needed to work overtime. I worked from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I worked sometimes during the weekend. So for years, my job was my only hobby. But in general, when it comes to hobbies and interests, I'm a pretty eclectic, I like to know something about everything, So some people collect stamps and I collect information. So I'm into traveling. I like to travel, every time when I have an opportunity to check out a new destination, I just jumped into that opportunity. I sculpt, I paint, I compose music and write lyrics with my daughter. So, actually, if, buying kids' clothes can be categorized as a hobby, then that's my favorite hobby, definitely.
So where did you started your professional journey from?
Well, after I finished Law University in 2001, I became a judge's trainee in a district court in my hometown. It was a 3 years trainee program, and after completion of that program, I passed the bar exam in 2004. I must say that was maybe the toughest thing that I did in my life. Maybe because that exam was very important, given the fact that without bar exam, you can't practice law. So with that exam, you can be a lawyer, you can be a solicitor attorney, you can be a judge, you can represent clients in front of the court, so it was very important from that aspect. The other thing was that exam was very serious because it consisted of 13 university subjects. And it had two parts. First, the candidate needs to submit criminal and civil law assignment. And after that, after successful submission, the candidate proceeds to the oral exam. And all 13 exams needed to be passed in the same day. It made things pretty much hard. So I passed it in one day, passed all the exams. That was maybe, that marked the beginning of my career. Later on, when I passed the bar exam, I started to work in a basic court in my hometown as a judge's assistant. I worked in civil litigation department. I spent approximately 2 years there. And then, as it happens in life, I got an offer to start to work in a bank as a risk manager. I just jumped into that opportunity because I needed a change. I want to challenge myself always. I want to go out of my comfort zone to learn something new. And of course, the salary was very good. So that was a reason as well. I worked in a bank for 5 years. And I can say that it was life-changing experience for me because I got an opportunity to get familiar with banking law, company law, and it turned out that later when I became a judge, I had a lot of banking cases. So it was really easy peasy lemon squeezy for me to understand, the background of a case, to issues of a dispute. So it was very significant experience for me. Again, I got another opportunity to start to work in a court of appeals as judge's advisor, and I worked there for 10 years in civil litigation department, and from there I was elected as a judge. So I'd say that, being a judge is definitely a highlight of my legal career. And again, life is full of surprises, and opportunities, so I got another opportunity out of the blue to move abroad and to start a completely new career, to work in a construction consultancy business. And it wasn't an easy decision, but I just jumped into that opportunity because I realized, that opportunities are like fast trains, either you jump into it, and take responsibilities, for the consequences of the thing that you did, or you just don't do that, and stay where you are. So it's been an amazing journey so far, and I just can't, wait to see what's there for me in the future. But when we talk about professional experience, I would like to, again, a piece of advice for young people that they need to try to diversify the professional experience and portfolio as much as possible, because it will open some new windows and upgrade not just their CVs, but their mind and experience as well.
So which was the most challenging case of your professional life?
Well, maybe most challenging case in my profession was one very old case, the case that I got, at the beginning of my judge's journey. I was a young judge and I got a very old case. A lawsuit was filed in 1990 something, so, you can imagine how old it was. And it was a case about copyright, and huge money was involved, and one big businessman was one of the parties, and I was under a lot of pressure, especially by the parties and their solicitors. And one day I was alone in my office, and that big businessman paid a visit to me along with his bodyguard / attorney. And they surrounded me, they surrounded my table, and then they started to threaten me like, I know all the judges in the Supreme Court, I can make this case disappear, I will report you to the president of the court. Then they actually wanted to pressure me to tell them what kind of decision I will make and when I will make it, I just waited for them to finish their expose, and I told him, first of all, I don't care if, the president of the state, himself, I don't care. The second thing, just get out of my office and never come again unless you're invited. And the third thing was, you'll get the judgment when you get it. And they were furious, but they left my office. It was a very big lesson for me, because I realized that I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of people. I'm not afraid of cases. I can't be intimidated, and I can't be impressed by big names, big words. So I'd say that anyone who is not like that just can't be a judge. And there's no place for cowards in the courtroom.
So what is that aspect of your professional journey you like the most?
Well, I guess, when you talk about, being a judge, the favorite part of being a judge is the moment when a judge delivers a decision. Of course, I don't want to underestimate, the importance of the court proceedings. It's very important. During court proceedings, we collect all the facts, evidence. We actually form substantiation for our decision. But, the moment when you need to decide what to do in a particular case and when you deliver a decision, that's the moment where a judge puts all his knowledge into force, when judge takes all the facts and evidence into account to render a decision that will finally resolve the dispute between the parties. So I would say that delivering a judgment is a moment when a judge delivers justice. So it's the most important aspect of their job, in my opinion.
So who is your mentor in your professional journey?
This is a very inspiring question for me, because I believe in mentors, really. I believe that there are people who touch our life, who enrich our lives. And I'm so grateful that I met so many people along my professional journey that I can call my mentors, but I can also call them my friends. So I'd say in general, my first mentor was my mother. There is a very beautiful line. Someone said, my mother is my first country, the first place I ever lived. Yeah, my mother taught me to be kind, to be humble, to work hard, to fight, to overcome any obstacle, and, to be proud of myself even when my world is falling apart. So I'm so thankful to her for teaching me and transferring that kind of values on me. When I started my professional career, when I was a judge's trainee, there were 3 remarkable judges that marked my legal career. And all 3 were civil litigation judges. I need to mention their names because they mean a lot to me. They are Judge Jadranka Trivković-Stanić, Judge Petar Kojčić, and my dear Judge Jelica Bojanić-Kerkis. They taught me how to become an exceptional lawyer. They taught me yet how to stay humble, and to keep my feet on the ground, regardless of how successful I am or I think I am. And the most important thing that they taught me is that being a judge does not mean that you need to stop to be a human being. It was a very valuable lesson for me. Later, when I was working in a court of appeals, again, I came across three exceptional judges. They were Judge Nada Bačkalić, Judge Koka Mađarov, and again, Judge Jelica Bojanić-Kerkez. And they shared their knowledge with me unselfishly, and they gave me the freedom of work, that I desperately needed. And they supported me along the way, even when I became a judge. So I think that's what a mentor should do. Also, that's what a friend should do. And if I may say, along my professional journey, I had an opportunity to meet extraordinary people. That people come from different backgrounds. They are lawyers, engineers, surveyors, IT technicians. They come from different countries, from Serbia, from Ireland, from Greece. But they all taught me one thing, that everybody needs someone's support, and they are people who are willing to give you their support unselfishly and unconditionally, and I thank them for that. Maybe to be a little bit personal in the end, as I was at the beginning, I think that I met my biggest mentor 6 years ago. Technically speaking, I produced it because it's my daughter. She was born 6 years ago, and she's my biggest mentor. She taught me so many things about life and about myself. So I wouldn't be here without her. So she's my ongoing inspiration, really.
So what were your initial days challenges post becoming judge?
Well, I'd say not just as being a judge, but generally in life. The most challenging period was actually every period when I decided to change a job and to change my career path. Because every time I decided to start from scratch, to go out of my comfort zone and to just explore my limits. So every moment when I did something like that was a very challenging moment, because it's not easy to leave something that you're used to, and to start a new challenge. So I'd say, that every phase, every transition from one work to another was very challenging. And maybe this last transition, when I just needed to decide whether I'm going to stay a judge or to continue to work as a judge in my home country, or I will make a crazy move and move abroad and start to work for a private company and in the field of construction law, that was the biggest challenge. But of course, that decision didn't come overnight. It was a result of deep thinking. I discussed it with my family, and in the end, I realized I'm the only one who can make that decision. It's my decision after all, and I just need to do thing that makes me happy. And definitely it made me happy. That's what we should aim for when we make any big decision in our lives, private or professional decision. Just try to find a thing that will make you happy.
So what's your definition for success, and what is the role of hard work, smart work and luck?
I don't think that success can be defined with one word or one line. I don't think that there is a formula for success. I came across so many articles, like what are 10 habits of successful people, etc. But I don't think. It depends on the person. What works for me doesn't necessarily work for you. What's success for you, maybe it's not a definition of success for me. I can tell you when I felt successful. I felt successful when I reached that stage of my life or my personal development when my confidence didn't depend on other people's opinion. So at that stage, when you reach that stage, then it's completely irrelevant if someone tells you, oh, you're smart, or you're stupid, or you're beautiful, or you're not. If you manage, to reach that stage of self-development where you don't base your confidence on other people's opinion, you can consider yourself like a successful person. And another thing, I can say that I consider successful people who have someone in their corner, whether it's partner, child, family, everyone who has someone to rely on, someone to have his back, to support us. That kind of person is a successful person. So I would say that we can't measure our success by the amount of money that we earn, but we surely can measure it by the number of people that we have in our corner in good times and as well in bad times.
So what's the difference you feel while working as a judge and working with a construction company as a legal advisor?
The biggest advantage for me personally is freedom. I can organize, working for a private company, I can organize my time. I can work when I want, how I want, I can choose clients. And that's what I need. Personally, that's what I need. On the other hand, like being a judge, it's not easy. I mean, it's very responsible and yet not very appreciated, at least not in my country. And we judges, we definitely are public servants, but sometimes people, especially parties and sometimes even solicitors, they consider us like literally as servants, you know. They expect everything from you. They expect from a judge to be at their service, and they have very little understand when a judge is sick, when a judge is on a sick leave or on a vacation. They think that we should always be present there for them. And another thing is that people blame judges for everything. If they lose a case, yes, it's judge's fault. If they did not present any crucial evidence, yeah, again, it's judge's fault. So it's not easy, you know, to be a usual suspect all the time.
So if you were able to get hold of time machine, which phase of your life would you like to roll back?
Oh, I would like to go back to the future, like in DeLorean, if it's possible. Jokes aside, I mean, when I look at my life, I realize that I just don't want to go back to the past. I mean, past is in the past. I mean, it's carved in stone. We can't change it. And again, yet future is unpredictable, uncertain, but it should be that way. I mean, so I would stick to the present moment, definitely. I would just enjoy the present moment, seize the day. In my case, I would rather sell that time machine for big money and buy a beach house and retire.
So what are good and bad legal practices according to you?
Well, I think that when it comes to legal practice, everything is about integrity. So when there is no integrity, every practice is a bad law practice.
Any particular case whose judgment was difficult to announce?
There were no judgments that were difficult to announce. I mean, sometimes maybe it was hard to deliver a judgment, especially in a situation when, for example, there is no common practice on the particular case, and in that situation, judge needs to establish a new practice or to come up with some kind of new solution or opinion that hasn't been seen before. So it can put additional pressure. And maybe it's not easy. It wasn't easy in a situation when you have that feeling in your gut that if you blindly follow the word of the law, you won't deliver justice. And then you need to follow principles of justice and fairness to make sure that you will deliver the right decision. And sometimes people don't understand that. Parties can't understand it. Even judges from higher courts, they can't understand it. But it's very important. Sometimes you can't deliver justice just by following the words of law.
So as per you, what is the definition of perfect judgment?
I would say that formally speaking, perfect judgment is, of course, a judgment rendered by a judge, judgment that can be successfully enforced, a judgment that has all the elements prescribed by law, judgment that has good substantiation, clear legal reasons, and a judgment that is understandable, but not just to lawyers, but to non-lawyers as well. But personally, I find that the perfect judgment is one that creates win-win feeling among the parties. It's very easy to convince a party who won a case that your judgment is good, of course, for obvious reasons. But it's very hard to convince a party that lost the case that your decision is a good decision, that it was a good decision that party lost the case. So if you can make the losing party think that decision is right, you know, that your decision is good, that's what you can call like a perfect judgment.
So what are your roles and responsibilities as Judge Basic Court, General Litigation Department?
Well, as a judge at Civil Litigation Department, you're in charge to deal with civil cases of different kinds. I can say that actually every type of the case except family and labor cases is handled by the civil litigation judge. Property cases, compensation cases, banking cases, every judge is in charge of a certain number of cases, and they are awarded to the judge randomly. Of course, the main role of a judge is to conduct the court proceeding. That means that when I receive a lawsuit, I deliver it to the opposite party, then I schedule hearing or hearings. During that period, all the facts and evidence should be collected. I would take statements from the parties, question witnesses. Sometimes I would engage an expert witness to deliver an expert report. And when the hearings are done and finished, judge makes a decision based on the evidence and facts presented during the hearings. And of course, judge delivers a verdict. So judges, during the course of the court proceeding, judge is responsible for assuring that the law is followed in every case. Judge is responsible to be independent, to be impartial, non-biased, to treat parties equally, in the same manner, without preferences and without any discrimination.
So what are the steps to become a judge in Serbia?
Procedure of election of judges in Serbia is regulated by law on judges and by the constitution itself. There are two main bodies, or say entities, that are in charge of the election. It's High Judicial Council and National Assembly. Of course, there are certain requirements that a candidate must fulfill if he or she wants to apply to be a judge. Definitely, it should be like a citizen of Republic of Serbia. Of course, to have like a law school, to finish a law school, to pass the bar exam, and to have a certain professional experience in the legal profession. It varies up from 2 to 12 years, all depending on the type of the court that the candidate is applying for. Actually, the entire process starts when the High Council publicly announces the election of judges and call the applicants, to submit their applications. After that, High Council review all the applications, conduct interviews with the candidates, and in the end, it presents its nominations, making a list of candidates that are nominated. After that, it's not over. That list is submitted to the National Assembly, and the National Assembly decides whether that list is going to be approved or denied. And there is one more step. If someone is elected and confirmed by the National Assembly, then the judge, before taking up office, judge shall take an oath before the National Assembly. So these are like the steps of the entire process.
So what's the most difficult aspect to be a judge?
Definitely, the most difficult aspect is dealing with people. As I mentioned before, we are public servants, of course, and but sometimes it's very difficult, to be treated as a servant, And there is, as I said, not enough understanding in the situations, our judge has some issues or is not present at work. He always has some kind of demands towards judges. And actually the parties expect that judges are like Googles, that they should bear their case with all the details in their mind. I was in the situation so many times that the party or solicitor just come into my courtroom and ask me about some details about the case, as I like to know everything about that case. So there are very high expectations. People on parties especially have very high expectations. And as I said, they blame judges for everything or even for their own mistakes.
So what are the most important lessons you have learned in your career?
Well, maybe the most important lesson that I've learned is to never sacrifice quality over quantity. I would rather deliver 10 judgments that I'm proud of than 100 judgments that I'm ashamed of. And also one important lesson is that when you're a judge, you need to treat people equally and with respect. Being humble and respectful will definitely pay off in the end.
So what are your roles and responsibilities as Managing Director, Khiebra LLC?
As managing director, practically I'm managing a company. Our prime activity is to deliver like contractual, commercial, and claim support to our clients. Our clients are mostly subcontractors and main contractors, of course, in the construction field. So we usually deliver our contractual support on a monthly basis in the form of a monthly retainer agreement. That means that we cover the entire process from the commencement of a construction project until the completion of the project. We review the contract, we write contractual letters, notices, prepare claims, COT claims, or recently like COVID compensation claims. We help our clients with the payment, to collect their payments. So it's very, sometimes we assist in a mediation or arbitration process. It's very interesting for me, being a lawyer and not that familiar with construction law. It's been a real challenge, working in a construction industry, especially here in the Middle East.
So what advice would you like to give to young judges?
I can advise young people, young judges, first of all, don't be afraid of people, don't be afraid of cases. Then don't be afraid of your own mistakes. It's a part of learning process. Embrace your mistakes. I mean, maybe it sounds like a cliche, but it's true. Really. We learn from every mistake we make. A second advice would be like steal knowledge. Actually, that's an advice that I got from one of my judges back when I was a judge's trainee. And he told me like, not every person or every judge or every superior is willing to share, their knowledge and experience with you. So you need to steal knowledge. You need to listen, observe, and absorb. And that's what I do. That's what I still do. Listen, observe and absorb. And I'd say maybe last but not least, try to learn and educate yourself as much as possible. The more you know, there are more ways to protect yourself.
So what are the career advice for young law students?
I'd say that when they finish their law school and when they are in a search for a job, I'd say that open as many doors as necessary, to find a job, and don't give up. You need to find an opportunity. Opportunities won't come to you, you need to find them. And definitely, again, don't be afraid. No one, you are the only person who can defeat yourself. So don't burn bridges. It's very important. And maybe they won't like this advice, but I say don't think that you deserve everything at the beginning of your career. You need to earn everything that you want.
So now we'll start a rapid round.
Oh, great. Looking forward to that.
So your favorite actor and actress?
My favorite actor is Denzel Washington, definitely. I like my favorite line is, if you fall forward. Very wise man.
Your favorite color?
Flying colors. I like to pass everything with flying colors.
Your favorite destination?
Greece, the land of gods.
Your dream house?
Beach house in Greece.
Your second choice of career?
Well, definitely construction law. Becoming a construction lawyer.
That last one line that defines you.
I always do things that I'm afraid of. That's how I conquer my fears.
Lovely. So thank you very much for your time, and it was a pleasure talking to you. And thanks for trusting us and giving the insight of your profession. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gaurang, for inviting me. I believe in future. I believe in you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for watching Amazing Mentor. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button to get regular updates. Thank you very much.